Hello fellow modelers, Bruce here. Well, I'm going to do another update on the Slate Run, and I'll introduce it while I am putting a little bit of Ground Goop onto the base here. And you've seen this bucket before. I made it up in March 16th of 2016, which was before we moved to Michigan. And when I opened it this morning, it was pliable. You've heard me brag about all the properties of Ground Goop, but you can see as I push it, it's still pliable. Now what I did do, in all honesty, was I mixed in about a little bit less than, I guess, a quarter of a cup of water, mixed it around good to get it into that very pliable state, but it was in great shape. And I've told you before, you can rejuvenate it with a little bit of water and mix it around. I haven't opened this since I was working on the lower deck down by that stream scene, which you saw me do, so it's been buttoned up since then. You saw I had some saran wrap patted down close, and it's in a good Tupperware. Unfortunately, Tupperware, I think, is now defunct, but you know, just don't get a dollar store plastic container. Get something decent. So there, I'm going to be putting it, and I'll show you in a minute where. But as far as introducing this update video, it contains some tasks that I completed prior to today. And it includes things like getting the face of this all set for the fascia, nice and cut even, putting the cork down, dealing with having to mock up a little structure so I could see where it would place, so I knew what to do with the scenery, and erecting the spine, the center spine of the view block mountain that's going to be on this level. So this video will tackle all of that, and I hope you follow along. And as far as what I'm doing with this, let me put a little bit down and then I'll show you a little closer up what exactly I'm doing with it. You know I'm a big fan of this particular type of Ground Goop. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck to mix a batch up, I'll grant you that. But, you know, I do like what I call a double batch. I double all the ingredients, and this has lasted me for the projects I've been working on since 2016. I will probably wind up finishing this batch up with this particular scenery project up here on the upper deck and have to mix a new one. I've shown you a video much earlier in my channel that showed me mixing some up, so I don't have to replicate that, although I guess I could if anybody wants me to. Alright, so I'll show you now exactly what I was doing with that. Let me take this off of here. All right, so when I put this piece of cork down, there was a little area between the cork and the rock castings, and I'm filling that in with goop, which then will get some ground cover on it and so forth. Sure beats trying to, cut that cork to fit that nice and tight with no gaps. Just fill the gap in with goop. And yeah, I know some of you are fans of plaster. I certainly have used my share of plaster, but I'm anywhere but a fan. Anyway, I'm going to finish this up and put this in the beginning of the update video, and then finish up that video and post it probably this Friday. And I will tell you, moving forward, for the foreseeable future, I'll be spending my time split between working on the upper deck and doing other projects like building some structures, anything that suits my fancy. And so I'll probably be alternating videos and putting an update video in every once in a while, maybe every other week in the beginning. All right, I'll be talking to you again soon. Okay, I'm going to try something here. When I cut these pieces of foam to fit up on this shelf, here it's nice and flush so I can get the fascia to mount really nice. And as you go along, in places it is sticking out to an eighth of an inch at the most. But it wouldn't let the fascia fit nice and flat against the benchwork. So, knowing what a mess this is, especially when you're taking a thin slice, if using a box cutter type of knife, I am going to try to use this hot knife and run it along the wood here and see whether it will take a nice thin slice. Knowing that that's going to be hot and curling and melting and falling probably on the rug, I do have a drop cloth all along here. And we will just see how this works. I will not be talking. I will not be swearing. I'll try not to. Let's see. Got to turn it on to heat it up first. Not bad. Well, there you have it, nice and flush. And here I dug a little deep, but when I put the fascia up, I can fill in with ground goop behind it. Better to have it a little recessed than sticking out too far. This all is fine. Alrighty then, success. A heck of a lot cleaner and quicker than trying to do it with a knife. Alright, talk to you again soon. Well, I'm still planning ahead for beginning the scenery and the mountains and the view block on the upper deck. And there's a couple of structures that I want to put in place where I really have to know where they're going, and I've decided I need to make a mock-up, at least of one of them, probably two, to try them in place because of scenery. Wherever I place it is going to have an impact on the scenery, let's put it that way. So let's see what I'm talking about with a specific example. One of the kits that I want to put on that upper deck is Campbell's grist mill. Now, it's not a large structure, it's quite a small structure. It would fit into the time period of the logging railroads up there in Pennsylvania. But it has a water wheel, and that water wheel has a lot of flexibility in terms of where you can place it, on the structure. But you do have to plan ahead on that too. For instance, looking at it this way, I'm going to have the water wheel on the opposite side of the building. So I have to, again, plan ahead a little bit in order to do that. At least I think I do. So the reason you got to plan ahead is that this has a big flume associated with it. All right, I think you can see, here's the plans for the flume. Now that flume is going to come out of a hill, and I can bury this end of it hidden by trees and shrubbery, so you don't need to see the water that's feeding the flume. And then it's going to come down to the water wheel, and if you see these dotted lines at the bottom, those fit below ground level. That's where you need to have a trench, let's say, that's going to take this water and feed it off somewhere. And that somewhere is going to be that cut that the covered bridge is going over. So I need to, I believe, mock this thing up and then start playing around with exactly how to position it so I know how to build the hill behind it and how to cut the exit flow from the water wheel to bring it out to the gorge or the cut that I have that goes underneath the covered bridge. So I'm mocking it up. And, I did a whole video on cardboard mock-ups. They are very helpful and very essential in a situation like this. And they take you about 20 minutes to a half an hour. This is the dimensions of these walls come right off of the Campbell plans. So I know I'm not putting the porch and stuff on, but I got the basic idea. And so this happens to be an old frosted mini-wheat cereal box with some scrap wood bracing. That's not good basswood. I think I mentioned this before. My dad cut me a whole bunch of wood strips out of old scrap pine he had, and I'm using that for the bracing. So I'm going to finish gluing these on, put a roof on it. This is the dimension of the water wheel. I've cut it out of black foam board, and I am going to, let's see, which side is it on here? I can position that on the side of the structure, and it indeed does go a little bit below ground level there. And then I can start playing with this and seeing the best way to position it and picture how I'm going to put the hill behind it that's going to have the flume feeding off of it, and how I'm going to do the trench to lead the water off. So yeah, I'll show you more about this when I go over to the layout and try to position it kind of near and slightly behind the covered bridge. So I'll talk to you again soon. I've decided to create a center line of the view block mountain with some contours on the top. I've seen a lot of view blocks that go straight along with no, dips for mountaintops and so forth. And I just thought I would try something a little bit different. If you've been following along, you've seen me use this template before. If you recall, it's the sky part of a photo backdrop that had mountains underneath it. And since I had painted the sky on my old layout previously, I could cut the sky off of the photo backdrop and just traced along the mountains to do that. And that's what I have there. So I'm using it as a template. I've traced along the curves now, and I'm going to move it down to this side. So I'm going to stop talking, and you can just kind of follow what I'm doing for a little while, so I can speed this up if I want to. Okay, that's certainly good enough because that's going to get all kinds of foliage and stuff on it. And of course this is just defining the center line, and I'll build out from both sides, which we'll see as I go along. So I think I can turn this off now, finish cutting this, and then I'll show it to you kind of in place on the layout. All right, see you soon. Okay, there's the backbone of that mountain view block. I'll give you a couple dimensions here a minute. It certainly does block the view. You can't see what's going on the other side, so it works for that. I started out by making it almost as high as the backdrop I had already painted sky blue. So 16 inches at its highest peak right there in the middle. And so you get an idea of how the mountains would slope off on each side. That's about an 8.5 inch, that white foam that you see there. So it would have to slope down to whatever the terrain is on the rest of the layout in about 8.5 inches. So now that I see it, I'm thinking maybe I'll shorten it by maybe 2 inches, because along the top of that ridge line I can always put trees sticking up, a couple inches higher. And if I brought it down 2 inches, I wouldn't have to slope it quite as much to get it down to the ground level out here in that 8.5 inches. So yeah, I'm going to get Bonnie down here and get her opinion and sleep on it a little bit. Now where you see that track just kind of angling into the backdrop, I think I'm going to put a tunnel about there, but before I cut the tunnel opening, I wanted to make sure whether I'm going to shorten this center ridge or not. But I think you get the idea of what's going on there. Now, when you get to this abrupt end, I have, oh, how many inches do I have here? Oh, let's see, it's about 9, 10 inches, I guess. So I can, bring it down to whatever this bottom level is going to be from the top down, slope it down. It'll probably end up about this high where the end of the ruler is. So that's doable. It would certainly be doable if I lowered the whole thing a couple inches. So that's why I like to put things in place, rough it out, and then sleep on it for a day. All right, I'll let you know my final decision. Talk to you again soon. All right, let me explain a little more of the work I've been doing here. I have now put down cork on top of the foam, and these are bits and pieces, not the new roll that I just bought, but things I had laying around, all 1/4 inch. And you can see this Campbell sand house is on that 1/4 inch board that I use to mount my things on, and it's nice and flush. So 1/4 inch works well. Same thing when you get down by the engine house here. This is mounted on the same 1/4 inch board, and this goes right in. So that's all. The cork is down. I'll probably, and it's one of those 60-year-old structures that I built, an inspector's shanty back there. I will probably put a little spackle down to fill in some cracks. Not that it's really necessary by the time I do my other ground covers and stuff, but I think I'll do that and then give it a coat of my brown ground paint, which is that color. Give everything that coat. Let me move this out of the way here. This will all get coated with Ground Goop and painted brown too. And there's the Campbell grist mill. And again, part of it is hidden obviously when this is here. You don't get a great view from a lot of angles. It's also going to pretty much hide whatever I fashion to bring the water down from where it's going around the water wheel out to the cut. So I think that's got to be about the angle that I have to use. I would create a pit here. Water is going to be coming down off of a mountain back here. Okay, coming down on the flume, and then underneath it that pit, which I'll probably have lined with stone, with an outlet here to go down into the stream. Now, that's about my only option. It doesn't really work on the other side of the cut because, first of all, that's all engine facilities, and it would look odd to have a commercial establishment there. But I can't think of another way really to do it. The front of the building has some detail. You'll see that good. That's what the front of the building looks like. Now, when I build it, I'm going to have to take this wall and put it on the other side of the building where the wheel is, and move that window in the wall to the front of the building instead of the back of the building. Then the side of the building that's on the right is the interesting side. That kind of looks like this, got a loading dock, some stairs going up to the second floor. I don't even know if I'll build those, probably will, but that would be on this side. So you kind of see it when you're looking at this angle, but it's, it is what it is. I think this is about where I'm going to have to place the mill, and Might have to move it forward a little bit depending on how thick I make that mountain. And that's kind of where I am on that. Here, I told you at some point I thought I could do away with this top layer as I move to the rest of the layout. Here's where I begin that, kind of sloping down. And then here's some of that Woodland Scenics ramp material. Works very well. I use it on my last layout. I'll probably come in and fill these with some spackle. Not really necessary because I'm going to be putting cork on top. And there is the view block. All right, I think that kind of brings you up to date with where I am at this point. We'll see how much more I can fit into one video before I break it off again, but that's the current update. Some spackling and painting. Talk to you soon. Okie dokie, after some consultation with my wife Bonnie and thinking about it for a while, I decided to lop 2 inches off. And I like it a lot better. And although I can, see above it because I'm 6'2", most people are going to be more like this. And beyond that, I can also put a tree line on the top that could be anywhere from 3 to 5 inches high, I guess. So, yeah, I like that better. Because the top of the mountain isn't that high above the white now, I can make the mountain slope a little more coming down to the baseline down here. And maybe slope it enough that I can put a little switchback road going up the mountain a ways to an opening for a mine or something like that, a little interest up there other than just trees. All right, like that better. All right, one last look at that backbone of that view block mountain. I'm ready now, I think, to cut the tunnel portal through where you see that track going. And finally, I redid this side of it, bringing it down to ground level. And I like it a lot better. Of course, it'll be 3D and look different when you start putting foliage and tree stumps and ground cover and everything on it. Left enough room at the end of the mountain, but still on the white, to let that auto reverse Moen 30 track I was talking about. Now I'm visualizing it actually wrapping around the end of the mountain there and going along the mountain on the other side as well. So we'll see how that unfolds, but I think that's it for this video. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you've not already done so, please subscribe to my channel. Talk to you again soon.